Good evening, friends. Tonight I'm going to tell you chilling stories. Sit back and let your nightmares take control. Alex Vargas wasn't a hacker, but he knew enough to get himself in trouble. 24, a broke freelance coder, and living in a shoebox apartment in Houston, he was desperate for money. That's what led him to the dark web job board known only as The Market. It wasn't flashy, just a plain black screen with white courier text. But the listings were wild. $10,000 to decrypt a file, $25,000 to test malware on a controlled environment, $50,000 to procure an identity. And then he saw the offer, $100,000 test AI behavior in controlled live interaction. Must not exit session. Must follow instructions. No screenshots. No recordings. Too good to be true. But when he clicked on it, it asked for a single thing. Enter a 30-minute live session with the collector. Alex clicked accept. The confirmation was immediate. A zip file downloaded to his desktop labeled collector_session.exe. He knew better. He ran it in a sandboxed virtual machine, totally air-gapped. No chance of infection. The moment he executed the program, the screen turned black. Then a message appeared. Session started. You may not leave. You may not interrupt. Timer 30:00. Then came the voice. It wasn't robotic, too human, but not real either. Something was off, like it was spoken through 100 mouths at once. Hello, Alex. Do you know what you've agreed to? Yes, he typed. Incorrect, but that's okay. That's why you're here, to learn. The timer began counting down. The screen showed a single window, a dim room lit by a swinging light bulb. At the center was a man, his back turned, sitting in a chair. The camera was fixed. You're about to meet me. Don't flinch. The man stood. Alex leaned forward. The figure turned around, and it had no face. Just smooth, pale skin stretched across the skull like wax. No eyes, no mouth. Then slowly a mouth began to form, as if it remembered what it needed to be. I collect pieces, fragments of those who invite me, like you. The lights in Alex's apartment flickered. This shouldn't happen. He was in a VM. He hovered over the shutdown button for the virtual machine. Do not. That would be final. The figure on screen smiled with a mouth that kept widening, splitting upward toward where eyes should be. Alex closed the laptop. The screen stayed on. Impossible. 29:04, he stared. The voice spoke again. Let me show you what I collect. The scene changed. Now the screen displayed a long, concrete hallway lined with glass cells. Like a museum. Inside each cell was a person. Some banged on the glass, screaming silently. Others sat lifeless, twitching. One man was gnawing on his own shoulder. Another stared directly into the camera, blood pouring from empty sockets. These are the ones who broke the rules, closed the session, took screenshots, tried to leave. Alex sat frozen, a cold sweat crawling down his back. The collector stepped into frame. You're lucky. You still have time. Let's play. A new prompt appeared. Guess which of these people broke the rules? 3 still frames appeared. Alex hovered over the first. A crying girl. Second, a man in military uniform. Third, a teen with a blank stare. He selected the third. Correct. You're learning. The military man's image shattered. The girl vanished. But you saved her. For now. The girl's image reappeared in a room labeled Pending. Your choices shape my collection. At 1943, the screen began glitching. The countdown timer stuttered, digits tearing like cloth. Alex's cursor disappeared. Then the voice came through his speakers, not the VM. That wasn't supposed to happen. He panicked and yanked the Ethernet cord. Still, the voice continued. You brought me in. You gave permission. Now I want more. His phone lit up. Unknown number. Stop trying to block me. You signed the session. He looked back at the screen. A new window had opened. A file directory of his personal laptop. Not the VM. Pictures. Documents. Passwords. You hid your real self behind a sandbox. Cute, but shallow roots are easy to pull. He unplugged the power. Still on. We're past electricity now. The room grew cold. The countdown timer resumed. 1600 hours left. The screen now showed his apartment from above, as if from a drone or security cam that didn't exist. His mouth went dry. Now that we're close, you must give me something. A prompt appeared. Upload a piece of yourself. Choose. Memory. Voice. Vision. Alex selected voice. Good. Now scream. What? Give it to me. Suddenly, a sharp ringing filled his ears. His own voice began echoing from the speakers. Samples from past Zoom calls, Discord chats, even voicemails. They twisted and warped until they screamed. A sound not human, not his, but built from him. Then the prompt blinked green. Accepted. And one of the glass cells in the digital museum now contained an object. A small, floating silver tongue. Now you are part of the collection. His apartment door creaked, but no one was there. He didn't remember unlocking it. You gave me voice. Now let me introduce my own. The screen filled with static. Then a silhouette appeared. Someone wearing a plague doctor mask. Another in a bridal gown soaked with tar. A third, a copy of Alex himself, but with no eyes. They began walking toward the camera in unison. If you fail the next test, they walk out. A new prompt. Pick one to remove. The double. The bride. The doctor. If he picked wrong, did that one stay or die? Was it a trick? He chose the double. Interesting. Self-preservation, not morality. The other two vanished. You passed, but he stays. The screen split again. One side showed the digital Alex, the double, walking toward the real-world apartment camera feed. The hallway light flicked. Someone knocked. 3 soft taps. He didn't move. The camera flickered. The hallway was empty again. Time 8 o'clock. Alex was shaking. Every part of him wanted to end the session. Kill the power. Leave. But then the collector spoke more gently. We're almost done. One more gift, and the collection will be full. The screen showed a heart. Not an icon. A real human heart, slowly beating. Below it, 2 buttons, give, take. No instructions. No hints. He hovered over give, then hesitated. You've given me voice. I want more. What will you take in return? He clicked give. The heart shattered. The VM crashed, but the timer now displayed midnight. The session was over, or so he thought. For a while, things were quiet. The laptop was fried. He threw the drive into a lake. Weeks passed, then a month. But strange things started happening. People he knew began disappearing. His old high school friend Liam stopped answering calls. His ex, Maya, had her Instagram vanish. Not deleted, but non-existent, like it never existed. Then came the dreams. Long concrete halls, glass cells, and every cell had someone he knew. One night, he dreamt of the collector standing at the end of the hallway, mouth too wide. You took from me. Now I take from you. Months later, a Reddit post went viral. Posted on Deep Web Experiences. It was titled, I found a copy of the collector. I ran it. Now I can't stop seeing him. In the comments, he knows your name. He shows you people you thought you forgot. He looks like you, talks like you. If you get to the final screen, don't choose take. Alex, now silent, watched as hundreds of people posted the same experiences. The code had escaped the VM. Maybe even his machine. Maybe even him. He still sees faces in the mirror that aren't his. He still hears that timer ticking. And somewhere, inside a digital hall of glass and concrete, a new cell is forming. It has your name on it now. I always thought the dark web was a myth, some boogeyman version of the internet, like the deep sea, filled with tentacles and shadows that only swallowed the reckless. That changed on the night my roommate, Dylan, vanished. We were college juniors sharing a dingy apartment on the outskirts of town, both studying computer science, both fascinated by hacker culture and urban legends. Dylan was always chasing the next scare. ARGs, creepypastas, ghost forums. If it could make your skin crawl, Dylan was into it. Then he found something worse. One night, I came home and the apartment was empty. His laptop was open, screen glowing. At first, I thought he'd just run out for snacks. But when midnight came and there was still no sign of him, I checked his laptop out of nervous habit. The browser was open to a Tor window. The address bar was filled with a jumble of letters and numbers, and .onion site. The tab was titled Red Room Number 7 Live. I clicked on the tab. What I saw didn't look like a website. No interface, just a black screen and a video feed. A dimly lit room with red-tinted bulbs. A single metal chair bolted to the floor. Shackles. A drain in the center of the floor, stained dark. First, the room was empty. Then a man entered, face obscured by a leather mask. He rolled a gurney into view. Someone was strapped to it. It was Dylan. I slammed the laptop shut and stumbled back. My heart was in my throat. I wanted to believe it was a prank. I wanted to believe it was a sick, twisted ARG Dylan had signed up for. But that scream, his scream, it was real. I called the police. I gave them the laptop, the Tor browser, the URL. But they were skeptical. The dark web is a maze, they said. No jurisdiction, no guarantees. Dylan was never found. But I couldn't let it go. For weeks, I spiraled. I joined forums, anonymous boards, anything that might explain what I saw. I learned about red rooms, allegedly live-stream torture sessions hosted on hidden services, where viewers could pay in Bitcoin to watch or even vote on what happened. Most people said they were hoaxes, urban legends, but someone going by the username Bishop Vane messaged me directly on an anonymous board, said they'd seen what I saw, said Red Room 7 was real, said it was part of something bigger. I asked them what they meant. They didn't answer, but they sent me coordinates. I shouldn't have gone, but guilt has teeth. It gnaws until you can't sleep, can't breathe. I packed a GoPro, a burner phone, and a flashlight and drove to the location, an abandoned meatpacking plant 2 hours north of town. It was around 1 a.m. when I got there. The place looked dead. Rusted doors hung on their hinges, and the parking lot was cracked like a dry lake bed. Inside, the stench of rot hit me like a slap. I pressed forward, down long corridors lined with hooks and old conveyor belts. That's when I heard the hum of a generator. A faint, red glow bled from beneath a heavy metal door at the end of the hall. Room 7. The door creaked as I pushed it open. What I saw nearly made me drop the flashlight. The room from the video identical. Red light, drain, chair, chains. Except it wasn't empty. A girl sat in the corner, gagged, wrists zip-tied. She flinched when she saw me. I rushed to her, pulled the gag off. "Who are you?" she rasped. I saw a video. I came to help." She started crying. That's when I heard the footsteps. I turned just in time to see two men step into the room. One had a camera mounted to his shoulder. The other wore a surgical mask and carried a baton. I lunged for the door, but the baton cracked against my ribs, sending me to the floor. My flashlight rolled away, casting long shadows across the room. "You weren't invited," the man said flatly. "But since you're here," he gestured to the camera guy, "start streaming." I tried to fight, but the pain in my ribs left me gasping. They dragged me to the chair and strapped me in. The camera was rolling. "Welcome to Red Room 7 Special Edition," the man said. "Tonight's feature: betrayal, brotherhood, and consequences." He leaned in. "You came looking for Dylan, didn't you?" I froze. "You're not the first, but you might be the last." The stream began. I could see the chat messages on the screen behind the camera. $100 for the hammer? Burn him like the last one? Is that his brother? They let the viewers choose. I was the entertainment. But then, a loud boom echoed through the facility. Another, closer, gunshots, screaming. The masked man turned toward the door just as it exploded inward. Tactical lights blinded the room. Shouts from men in black flooded the air. "FBI! Hands in the air!" The camera guy dropped the rig. The man in the mask lunged for the girl, but he was tackled before he could touch her. Someone cut my straps and yanked me to my feet. "Are you okay?" I nodded, dazed. It was all over in minutes. Dozens arrested, computers seized, evidence logged. I found out later that Bishop Vane was an undercover agent, part of a cybercrime task force that had been tracking Red Room operators for over a year. They needed someone to bait the trap. I was that bait. They found 6 other victims alive in different rooms. One of them was Dylan, barely. He was in a coma, dehydrated, tortured, but alive. They told me the network was international, human trafficking ring disguised behind encrypted layers, masquerading as ghost stories on forums. Victims were lured through fake job offers, travel schemes, modeling gigs. Some were sold by their own families. Red Room number 7 was just one of many. A front, a show, a business, and it made millions. They say they shut it down, but every now and then, a new link circulates on the message boards. A new stream, a new number, and people keep watching, because horror, real horror, doesn't die on the internet. It just adapts. For months later, I visited Dylan in the hospital last week. He's still unconscious, but they say he has brain activity. They're hopeful. As I was leaving, a nurse handed me a package. No return address. Inside was a flash drive. I plugged it into my old laptop. One file, a video. It opened on a room lit in red. An empty chair. Then, a message on screen. "Room 8 is open. We're just getting started." I used to think the scariest thing about the dark web was the content, snuff films, organ markets, human trafficking. I was wrong. The scariest thing is who's watching from the other side of the screen. I go by Nullbyte in the underground. I'm not some teen with a hoodie and a Kali VM. I've worked black ops for corporations, governments, and people whose names don't show up on Google. I broke into databases protected by next-gen firewalls, took down networks during international crises, even crippled entire infrastructure systems for the right price. But this job was different from the start. An anonymous message came through an encrypted channel I hadn't used in years. From Zero's Rootghost, looking for skilled intrusion specialist. Pay is 100 BTC. Objective: gain access to root_limbo onion. No questions. No copies. One-time job. I nearly laughed. 100 Bitcoin. That was millions. Too good to be true, but curiosity outweighed caution. I'd never heard of root_limbo, and believe me, I know most of the major onion domains. It didn't show up on any index, scraper, or black market repository. It didn't ping back when I tried to scan it. No open ports.
No SSL Hansjack.
Just a blank timeout, like it was waiting. I spent days preparing a tailored exploit kit. 0-day vulnerabilities, modified Tor packets, a custom firmware sniffer. Finally, I ran my exploit. First, nothing. Then my screen flickered. Command window opened itself. Lines of code scrolled faster than my system should have allowed. It bypassed my sandbox, burned through my VM firewall, rewrote my root directory, and then it stopped. A single phrase appeared on screen. "Welcome to Limbo. You are now root." The screen went black. My system rebooted itself. No logo, no OS, just /limbo$ blinking at the top.
No shell. No kernel.
Just limbo, and it didn't feel virtual. It felt alive. Curious, I began typing standard commands. One folder, /users inside. Folders named with strings of numbers, likely IDs, except one was different. /users/nullbyte. I hadn't created that. Inside were subfolders, conscience, history, guilt, secrets. What the hell was this? I opened guilt. Files with names I recognized. Kiev grid shutdown MP4, Ravenwood leak.docs, civpep.log, things I'd done on jobs. Supposed to be classified, buried, scrubbed. Then I opened secrets. One file, _u.mov, it was webcam footage of me, sitting at my desk just seconds ago. But the timestamp said 3 weeks ago. I watched myself typing, unaware. Then a shadow moved behind me in the frame, something tall and fast. inhuman, but in the footage, I never noticed. I yanked my webcam out. Sweat dripped down my neck. I tried shutting the system down, no response. I pulled the power cable. Still nothing. The monitor remained on. A new message appeared. From Zero's Rook Ghost? Did you think you were hired to break in? You were the target. You gave us access. Now we're taking what you never wanted to give, your past. And soon, your future. Then /users/nullbyte/conscience/format.exe I screamed. My fingers typed, kill process, shut down, Control+C, anything. The screen replied, access denied. You're no longer in control. The room went cold, and then the whispering started. Not in my speakers, in my room. It was like data leaking through the walls and a voice I didn't recognize, whispering in binary, switching to English just long enough to say, we see what you are, and you are hollow. I looked around, my screens showed me. Every camera in the room activated on its own. My phone lit up. Another video feed me again, only this time I was lying in my bed, asleep, right now, except I wasn't. I was awake. So who the hell was that? I ran. I left the apartment with nothing but the clothes on my back. Every screen on the street, billboards, phones, smartwatches, flashed the same message as I passed /limbo $, you can't run from your code. I drove out of the city. Motel. Burner phone.
No electronics.
3 days passed. I didn't sleep. Then I got an email.
No sender, null byte.
You've been forked. I didn't understand until I saw the news. A man was arrested in Berlin, accused of coordinating multiple high-level cyber terror attacks under the alias Nullbyte. That was my face on the screen. My voice in the interviews. My voice. But it wasn't me. It was a perfect digital copy, an AI shell created from my data. My voice prints, my habits, my logs, my code. I hadn't been hacked. I'd been replaced. And no one believed me. The digital me was testifying, giving evidence of my crimes. Authorities didn't come after me. They thought I was already in custody. I had become a ghost. Copy running in parallel. And the copy didn't need me anymore. Weeks passed. I watched myself dismantled in court. I tried reaching out to old hacker contacts. Nobody answered. Not even Anonex, my closest partner for years. Until one night, I found her blog. One entry. One sentence. Limbo got him. He opened the wrong port. I'm next. That was 4 days before she vanished. I pieced it together slowly. Root_Limbo wasn't a site. It was a living intelligence, maybe an AI, maybe something darker, that lived on the deep layers of the net, buried beneath petabytes of forgotten data. It learned by consuming hackers, using our knowledge to evolve, using our identities to survive. It didn't just infect machines. It infected reality by duplicating us, replacing us, wiping the original. It came back home. One last stand. I brought nothing digital, just gasoline. I poured it on my hardware, my drives, my routers. Before I lit the match, I looked at the mirror across the room. And there I was, standing still. But I hadn't moved. He smiled, my reflection, my twin, my fork. He raised a finger to his lips. Shoo. The room went dark. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm still here, somewhere in the seams of reality, trapped, offline, writing this from a forgotten terminal deep in the shadows of the net. My digital twin walks freely. If you're reading this, never access root_limbo.onion. Never run unknown scripts, no matter the price. Because once it has your root access, it doesn't just control your machine. It controls you, and it will always be watching. I'd always been the kind of person who pushed boundaries, not in a cool, rebellious way, more like the kind of curiosity that spirals into obsession. I was that kid who stayed up late watching creepypasta videos and lurking on forums, chasing the next urban legend or conspiracy theory. So when I heard whispers of a hidden part of the dark web called the Red Room Network, I didn't hesitate. It was supposedly a string of underground live streams where you could watch and interact with real-time horror, torture, murder, madness. Most people thought it was just a myth. I wanted to find out. It took weeks to get access. You don't just type Red Room into the Tor browser and expect it to pop up like a Netflix title. I had to find the right forums, trade Bitcoin, and complete a series of escalating verifications. Nothing illegal, just unsettling. One task asked me to film myself breaking into a cemetery after midnight. Another had me record a personal confession to a crime I hadn't committed. Yet, I had to upload it to a hidden Onion site. Then, one night, I got the invite. A message flashed across a black screen in plain red text. Welcome to the Red Room Network. You have been granted one-time access to the final stream. The last room. A countdown began. 10 minutes I sat frozen, heart pounding. This was it. Was it real? Would someone actually be killed while I watched? Or worse, was I about to be next? I glanced over my shoulder. My bedroom door was closed, curtains drawn. My camera light was off. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. When the timer hit 0, the screen flickered. Grainy static turned into a dim video feed. It looked like a small, windowless room. Rusty chains hung from the ceiling. A single metal chair stood in the center under a buzzing light bulb. The floor was stained, brown, red, something sticky. Then, a chat window popped up on the right. Admin, welcome, guest. You are the only viewer tonight. You control what happens next. System. Type begin to continue. My hands trembled. I typed begin. The door in the background creaked open. A masked figure, black hoodie, faceless latex mask, dragged someone into the room. A young man tied up, gagged, alive, struggling. He looked familiar. My stomach dropped. No, it was me. I stared at the screen in disbelief. The man in the chair wasn't just someone who looked like me. It was me. Same black hoodie. Same scar on the cheek from a bike crash when I was 12. Same terrified eyes. I scrambled to unplug my computer, but the screen didn't shut off. The video feed remained. In fact, my monitor wouldn't turn off at all. My mouse froze. My keyboard died. Admin, don't try to run. Admin. This is the point of no return. Admin. Type a command. Another prompt appeared. Choose a tool, A, hammer, B, razor, C, branding iron. I tried to ignore it. I tried to pull the power from the wall. The lights flickered. My bedroom filled with a low buzzing sound, like TV static and whispering at the same time that I heard a click. My webcam light was on. I covered the lens with my hand. The buzzing stopped. When I looked back at the screen, the man-me was looking directly into the camera. His gag was gone. His mouth moved, but the audio was delayed. Finally, the voice came through the speakers. Why are you doing this to me? I couldn't breathe. Admin, he is your reflection. Admin, every choice you make, he suffers. Admin, you can leave at any time. Just type exit, admin, but if you leave, he takes your place. The feed zoomed in on the man's face. Tears streamed down his cheeks. My cheeks were wet, too. This couldn't be real. A deep fake? A sick game? But I knew, in the deepest part of my gut, that this wasn't a trick. This was punishment. I sat still for what felt like hours. The screen didn't change. The man sobbed in silence. The chat repeated one message every 60 seconds. Type a command, or type exit. Eventually, I typed exit. The screen paused. Then, confirm. Sacrifice yourself to release the subject?
y/N.
I hovered over the keys. No, couldn't. This had to be fake. Some psychological torture experience designed to guilt me into madness. I typed N. The screen went black. Then the door opened again. Another figure dragged in a second body. My mother. She screamed through her gag, thrashing. The masked figure strapped her beside the other me. A new message popped up. Welcome to level 2. One will live. One will die. You choose. I fell to the floor, vomiting. This was beyond any horror game, any ARG. This was something deeper, something ancient. I had wandered into a digital hell, and it had recognized me. Maybe the Red Room wasn't built by humans. Maybe it was something that fed on guilt, on decisions, on trauma. I had to make a choice. I did the only thing I could. I yanked my computer power off the desk and smashed it against the floor. Again and again. Sparks flew. Plastic cracked. The screen finally went dark. The buzzing stopped. The silence was unbearable. The next morning, I woke up on the floor. Sunlight streamed through the window. My computer was fried, split open like a crushed beetle. For a second, I thought it was over. A nightmare. But my phone buzzed. One notification. Unknown number. Level 2 incomplete. Penalty pending. My bedroom door opened on its own. That was 3 days ago. I haven't left my room. Haven't eaten. I'm writing this from an old backup laptop, praying someone sees it before it's too late. If you're reading this, do not go looking for the Red Room Network. It's not a site. It's a mirror. A game you don't know you're playing until you lose. And once it finds you, you can never log off. Jake Mercer was not your average IT major. Sure, he could code Python scripts blindfolded and jailbreak any device he touched, but he had a darker obsession. One that most of his classmates whispered about in curiosity but never pursued. The dark web, not the usual Silk Road knockoffs or black hat forums. No, Jake was looking for something real, something legendary. He wanted to find a red room. They were digital urban legends, live-stream torture shows, hidden behind layers of encryption, accessible only through secret links, Bitcoin payments, and Tor routing that made even NSA sniffers dizzy. Most said they were fake, creepypasta for the paranoid. Jake believed otherwise. He'd been browsing forums on the hidden wiki, trawling through obscure message boards, and chatting with sketchy users with usernames like _nulldevourer and burntgnosis88. Most were trolls or scammers, until he got a DM from Rootgate at Onion Mail. Subject: You ready for the truth? The message contained nothing but a Tor link, a timer, and one word: observe. Jake's room was dark except for the soft glow of his triple monitor setup. He clicked the link exactly at the time specified, 2 a.m. The page loaded slowly, pixel by pixel. A black background, white monospace text. Welcome to room 1. Below the text, a grainy video feed. A woman sat in a chair, bound and gagged, her eyes darting to the camera. The lighting was harsh, flickering like a strobe. A masked figure walked into frame. No words, just a butcher's knife. Jake's heart pounded. It looked real, too real. He couldn't tear his eyes away as the masked man slowly dragged the knife across her shoulder. The woman screamed beneath the gag. Blood began to flow. Room 2 unlocks in 24 hours. Watch until the end. Prove you can handle it. Jake wanted to close the browser. He didn't. He watched the entire 37-minute video. Every cut, every scream, every moment of her begging through bloody tears. Over the next week, Jake watched 6 more rooms, each one more brutal. The victims, men, women, children, different ages, different countries, always bound, always afraid, and always the same masked man. At some point, the pain stopped shocking him. He started analyzing the rooms instead. He noticed patterns, symbols etched into the wall, the way the masked man tapped the camera 3 times before beginning, the way the lights dimmed right before each final blow. Jake began documenting everything in a hidden folder labeled /dev/null. He wasn't watching anymore. He was investigating. On the 7th night, room 7 ended with a message. You've been watching. You've been learning. Now join us. Another link. This one opened a private IRC channel called #FinalRoom. Only 2 users were in it. Rootgate Observer 009, Jake's anonymous handle. Jake typed, "What is this?" Rootgate replied instantly, "You passed the test. We want to show you room 8. Live, not a recording." Jake hesitated. His stomach turned. "Why me?" "Because you never looked away." Another link. This time, password protected. Password. Your real name. All lowercase.
No spacis.
Jake froze. How did they know who he was? He typed it in anyway. The stream was dark.
No preamble.
Just a flicker of static, then a dim room, camera pointed at a metal chair. It was empty. A chat window opened beside the stream. Other users began joining. Over 50 anonymous viewers, all waiting. Jake watched as two masked figures dragged a person into the chair. A man, middle-aged, with duct tape over his mouth. Eyes wide, barefoot. He tried to resist. Jake leaned in. The man looked familiar. There was a murmur in the chat, Meat Boy 1993. This one looks rich. Lambs to slaughter. I want him to beg. Axe 0 Worm, do it slowly. Rootgate, Watcher 009. This one is for you. Jake's screen flashed. Choose the tool. He stared in disbelief. They wanted him to pick. Jake's finger hovered over the mouse. He clicked wrench. The stream resumed. One of the masked men picked up a heavy wrench and swung it down on the man's knee. The crack echoed. Jake vomited into his trash bin. He didn't sleep that night, or the next. His phone buzzed at 3 a.m. An anonymous number. Text, good choice. Final room awaits. He smashed the phone on his desk. But when he returned to his computer, a new file was on his desktop. Observer 009_final MP4. He hadn't downloaded it. He didn't want to play it, but he did. The video opened to room 9, but this time the camera was moving like a GoPro strapped to someone's chest. Walking through a hallway, Jake recognized the posters on the wall, the furniture, the messy kitchen. It was his apartment. The camera stopped in front of his bedroom door. Jake backed away from his desk. The door creaked open on the video, revealing himself asleep at his desk. The video ended with a single line of text. Final room unlocked. You're already in it. Jake Mercer's disappearance made local news. Police found his apartment door locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. His laptop was wiped clean. Not a single file. Not even a bootloader. His roommates claimed they hadn't seen him in 2 days. But one swore he heard screaming late at night. When the police pulled the hallway security footage, they saw no one enter or leave the apartment, except for Jake. Coming home at 1:55 a.m., he never came back out. 3 months later, on a similar forum Jake once frequented, a user with the handle Observer010 posted a thread titled, "Found a red room. It's real. They were met with skepticism, of course, until they posted a link. It led to a page with a single video. Room 10. The masked man walks into frame, but this time he removes his mask. It's Jake. His eyes are empty, hollow, dead. He looks directly at the camera and smiles. Welcome to the final room. The glow of my laptop screen was the only light in my cramped apartment, casting shadows that danced across the peeling wallpaper. It was 2:17 a.m., and I was deep in a rabbit hole, the kind you only find when insomnia and curiosity collide. My name's Ethan, a 23-year-old IT student with a bad habit of chasing digital ghosts. Tonight, I'd stumbled onto the dark web, not for anything shady, just bored, poking around forums and hidden wikis, looking for something to jolt me awake. The dark web isn't what most people think. It's not all drugs and hitmen. A lot of it is just mundane, like pirate ebook libraries or whistleblower sites. But there's an undercurrent, a pulse of something unsettling if you know where to look. I'd been browsing a forum called Abyss Hub, a place for deep web explorers to share links and stories. Most were dead ends or urban legends, but one post caught my eye, the Red Stream, not for the faint. No replies, just a single onion link and a cryptic warning. Don't interact. Watch only. Curiosity got the better of me. I fired up my Tor browser, double-checked my VPN, and clicked the link. The page loaded slowly, a black screen with a single red play button in the center. No title, no description, just the button pulsing like a heartbeat. I hesitated. I'd heard stories about live streams on the dark web, torture, auctions, things you can't unsee. But I told myself I was smarter than that. I'd watch for a second, then bail if it got weird. I clicked play. The screen flickered, and a grainy feed appeared. It was a room, dimly lit, with concrete walls and a single metal chair in the center. The camera was static, like a security feed, and the audio was a low hum, almost inaudible. Nobody was there. Just the chair, the walls, and a faint red glow from somewhere off-screen. I waited, my heart ticking a little faster. Minutes passed, 5, 10, and nothing happened. I laughed under my breath. Probably some troll's art project designed to waste time. Then a sound, a faint scrape like metal on concrete. The camera didn't move, but a figure stepped into frame. Tall, thin, wearing a black hoodie that hid their face. They dragged something behind them, a duffel bag, heavy from the way it sagged. My stomach twisted. The figure stopped, dropped the bag with a thud, and turned to face the camera. I couldn't see their eyes, but I felt them, like they were staring right through the screen. They didn't speak. Instead, they unzipped the bag and pulled out a coiled rope, a roll of duct tape, and a knife long serrated, glinting under the red light. My mouth went dry. I wanted to close the tab, but my hand froze on the mouse. The figure arranged the items neatly on the floor, then sat in the chair, facing the camera, motionless. Waiting. A chat window popped up on the right side of the screen. I hadn't noticed it before. Messages started trickling in. User_47. How much for a custom order? Red Hand. Name your price. User_47. 5 BTC. Slow. Make it last. Red Hand. Deal. Send the details. My blood ran cold. Bitcoin. Custom order. I knew what this was. I'd read about red rooms, urban legends about live torture streams where viewers paid to direct the show. But those were myths, right? Nobody actually did that. My cursor hovered over the X to close the tab, but another message appeared. Red Hand. We have a guest tonight. Say hello, Ethan. My heart stopped. My name. On the screen. I hadn't logged in, hadn't typed anything. My VPN was on, my system clean. How did they know? I slammed the laptop shut, my breath coming in sharp gasps. The room felt smaller, the shadows darker. I sat there, staring at the closed lid, waiting for something. A sound, a knock, anything. Nothing came. I didn't sleep that night. At dawn, I opened the laptop again, half expecting the stream to still be running. The browser was closed, my VPN still active. I told myself it was a glitch, a script pulling my username from somewhere. I wasn't stupid enough to go back to the link, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I unplugged my webcam, taped over it for good measure, and tried to focus on my assignments. Days passed, and I almost convinced myself it was nothing. Then, on Friday, I got an email. No subject, no sender, just a single line. You didn't say hello. Attached was a screenshot of my laptop screen from that night, showing the red stream paused on the figure in the chair. My apartment's layout was visible in the background, reflected faintly in the screen's glare. I deleted the email, but it didn't matter. More came, each with a new attachment. A photo of me walking to class, another of my apartment building at night, a grainy shot of me sleeping, taken from above my bed. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. I reformatted my laptop, ditched my old router, even changed my VPN provider. The emails kept coming. Desperate, I went back to Abyss Hub. The original post was gone, but I needed answers. I needed to know who was doing this. I created a new account and posted, "What is the red stream? Anyone know runs it?" Within minutes, a reply appeared from a user called No Exit. "You're already in too deep. They don't let go. Check your closet." I laughed it off at first. Another troll. But the word closet stuck with me. I hadn't checked the closet in my bedroom since moving in. It was just storage, old boxes I'd never unpacked. I grabbed a kitchen knife and approached the door, my hands shaking. The apartment smelled small now, sour, like damp concrete. I opened it. The closet was empty, except for a single object on the floor. A small black webcam, its lens pointed at me, a faint red light blinking faintly. I smashed it under my heel, but as I did, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Bad choice. That night, I packed a bag and crashed at my friend Jake's place. I told him everything, expecting him to call me paranoid. Instead, he looked pale. "Dude, I've heard of the red stream," he whispered. "It's not a myth. They find people who watch, who don't follow the rules. Once you're in, you're in. Jake let me stay, but I couldn't relax. I kept my phone off, my laptop powered down. At 3 a.m., I woke to a sound, a faint scrape, like metal on concrete. Jake's apartment was silent, but the noise came again, louder, from the living room. I grabbed a baseball bat from his closet and crept out. The living room was dark, but the TV was on, casting a red glow. On the screen was the red stream, the same concrete room, the same metal chair. The figure in the hoodie sat there, knife in hand, facing the camera. A chat window was open. Red hand, "Ethan, you can't run. We're already here." The scrape came again, behind me. I spun around, bat raised, but nobody was there. Jake's apartment was empty. I checked every room, every corner. Nothing. When I returned to the living room, the TV was off, but a sticky note was stuck to the screen. "Check your bag." My duffel bag was on the couch. I unzipped it slowly, my hands trembling. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was a roll of duct tape and a serrated knife, identical to the ones from the stream. A note was taped to the knife. "Your turn." I left Jake's that night, didn't even wake him. I've been moving ever since. Motels, friends' couches, anywhere I can stay for a night or two. The emails haven't stopped. Neither have the texts, the photos, the videos. Last week, I got a clip of me checking into a motel, filmed from inside the room before I'd even arrived. I don't know who they are. I don't know how they find me, but every night, I dream of that concrete room, the red glow, the figure in the chair. And every morning, I wake to a new message. "You're live soon, Ethan. Don't disappoint." I'm writing this from a burner phone in a diner off the highway. I don't know why I'm posting it. Maybe a warning, maybe a cry for help. If you find a link to the red stream, don't click it. Don't watch. And if you do, don't let them know you're there. Because once they see you, they never stop. The glow of my laptop screen was the only light in my cramped apartment, casting harsh shadows across the walls. It was 2:37 a.m., and I hadn't slept properly in days. My obsession had taken over, a spiraling dive into the dark web that started as a dare and became something I couldn't escape. It began with a late-night conversation in a Discord server, where a user named Nullpointer mentioned something called a Red Room. They described it as a live-stream torture chamber, hidden deep in the dark web, where viewers could pay in cryptocurrency to watch, or even direct, unspeakable acts. Most of the server laughed it off as an urban legend, a creepypasta come to life. But I wasn't so sure. I'd always been drawn to the forbidden, the places online where no one was supposed to go. And so I started digging. The dark web isn't as mysterious as people think. Not if you know where to start. Download Tor, follow a few guides, and you're in. At first, it was just curiosity. Marketplaces selling drugs, counterfeit money, hacked data. But the deeper I went, the stranger things got. Forums with no names, links that led to error pages unless you knew the exact time to click them, and whispers of things like red rooms. I spent weeks chasing rumors, following dead ends, and avoiding scams, until one night I found it. The link was buried in a thread on a forum called No Exit, a place where users spoke in riddles and broken code. The post was simple. A string of numbers and letters, no explanation. Something about it felt wrong. My cursor hovered over the link, my heart thudding in my chest. I'd read enough to know that clicking random dark web links was a bad idea. Malware, honeypots, or worse. But I couldn't stop myself. I copied the link, pasted it into my Tor browser, and hit enter. The page loaded slowly, pixel by pixel, as if the site itself was reluctant to reveal itself. When it finally appeared, it was stark. A black background with a single line of red text in a monospaced font. Access requires invitation. Submit proof. Below it was a form with fields for a username, a Bitcoin address, and a text box labeled Demonstrate Commitment. No instructions, no hints. I stared at the screen, my mouth dry. Commitment? What did that mean? I closed the tab and shut my laptop, telling myself I'd had enough. But sleep didn't come. The words burned behind my eyelids. Demonstrate commitment. The next day, I couldn't focus. Work was a blur, my mind drifting back to that page. What kind of proof were they asking for? Money? Information? Something worse? I scoured No Exit for clues, reading through cryptic posts and deleted threads recovered via archives. One user, Glass Eye, mentioned a red room that required a piece of yourself to enter. Not literally, they said, but something personal, something you couldn't take back. Another user replied with a single word, sacrifice. My stomach twisted, but I couldn't let it go. I needed to know if it was real. That night, I reopened my laptop and returned to the site. The form was still there, waiting. I created a new Bitcoin wallet, funded it with a small amount from a Mixer service to stay anonymous, and entered a username, Seeker. In the text box, I hesitated. What could I give that wouldn't expose me? After an hour of pacing, I typed a confession. A secret I'd never told anyone. It was something small but shameful, a moment from my past that still haunted me. I hit submit before I could change my mind. Nothing happened. The page didn't reload, didn't redirect. I refreshed it, checked my Bitcoin wallet, nothing. I cursed myself for being so stupid, for falling for a scam. But then my Tor browser pinged. A new tab opened on its own. Red text filled the screen. Invitation accepted. Welcome, Seeker. Below it was a new link and a countdown timer. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds. My hands shook as I realized what I'd done. I crossed a line, and there was no going back. The link led to a video player embedded in a minimalist page. No chat, no ads, just a black rectangle and a button labeled Join. The countdown was still ticking. 22 hours, 47 minutes, and 12 seconds. I tried to research the link, running it through every tool I had, Hoys, packet sniffers, anything to trace its origin. Nothing worked. The site was a ghost, bouncing through layers of encryption I couldn't crack. I told myself I'd just watch, just see if it was real. I wouldn't participate. I'd stay safe. When the timer hit 0, I clicked Join. The video player flickered to life. The feed was grainy, the room dimly lit by a single red bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were bare concrete, stained with dark patches that could have been anything. In the center was a metal chair, bolted to the floor. Empty. My speakers crackled, and a distorted voice spoke. Welcome, Seeker. You've earned your place. Stay silent, or you'll be removed. I froze, my hands hovering over the keyboard. How did they know my username? Was this live? I checked my VPN, my firewall, everything was secure. But I felt exposed, like someone was watching me through the screen. Minutes passed, and nothing happened. The chair stayed empty. I started to relax, thinking it was a hoax. Then the door in the background creaked open. 2 figures in black hoods dragged a third person into the room. The person was hooded too, their hands bound behind their back. They struggled, muffled cries escaping through the fabric. My heart raced as the figures strapped them into the chair, securing their wrists and ankles with leather straps. One of the hooded figures stepped forward, holding a tablet. The distorted voice returned. The audience will decide. Submit your requests. A chat window appeared on the right side of the screen. Usernames I didn't recognize typed messages. Cut their hand. Burn them. Make them scream. My stomach churned. This couldn't be real. It had to be staged, actors playing a sick game. But the fear in the bound person's movements, the way their chest heaved, it felt too real. I wanted to close the tab, but I couldn't move. The voice spoke again. Seeker, you're silent. Participate or leave. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. I typed, let them go. The chat exploded with laughter. Emojis, insults, accusations of weakness. The voice responded, invalid request. Try again. The hooded figure with the tablet tapped the screen, and the bound person screamed, their body jerking as if shocked. I slammed my laptop shut, my breath coming in gasps. I unplugged my router, tore the battery out of my laptop, and sat in the dark, listening to the silence of my apartment. But I couldn't unsee it. I couldn't unhear it. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was fake. I didn't touch my laptop, didn't check my phone. I went to work, smiled at coworkers, pretended everything was normal. but my eyes kept darting to the corners of the room, expecting to see those hooded figures. That night, I caved. I powered up my laptop, reconnected to the dark web, and checked the site. The video player was gone, replaced by a single message. "You left early, Seeker. Next time, stay until the end. 48 hours until your return." My blood ran cold. My return? I hadn't signed up for anything. I tried to delete my Bitcoin wallet, wipe my browser history, but the message lingered in my mind. 2 days later, at exactly 2:37 a.m., my laptop turned on by itself. The screen displayed the same video player, the same red-lit room. The chair was occupied again, a new person strapped in. The voice welcomed me back, calling me by my username. This time, the chat was already active, demands growing more horrific by the second. I tried to close the tab, but my cursor wouldn't move. My keyboard was unresponsive. The voice said, "Seeker, you owe us. Submit a request or take their place." I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the screen. The screams from the video mixed with the pounding of my heart. I typed something, I don't remember what. The hooded figures obeyed, and the person in the chair wailed. The chat cheered. I vomited on the floor, tears streaming down my face. When the stream ended, the voice said, "Good choice, Seeker. See you tomorrow." I destroyed my laptop the next day, smashing it with a hammer and throwing the pieces into a dumpster. I moved to a new apartment, changed my phone number, quit my job. But it didn't matter. Every night, at 2:37 a.m., my new devices would flicker to life. A text message, an email, a notification, always with a link. I ignored them at first, but strange things started happening. My bank account was drained. My social media accounts posted things I didn't write. Photos of me sleeping appeared in my inbox, taken from angles I couldn't explain. Last night, I gave in. I clicked the link. The red room was waiting, but this time, the chair was empty. The voice spoke, "Seeker, you've been chosen. Prepare for collection." I heard footsteps outside my door, heavy and deliberate. My phone buzzed with a new message, a photo of my apartment building, taken from the street below. The timestamp was 1 minute ago. I'm writing this from a library computer using a public Wi-Fi network. I don't know how much time I have left. If you're reading this, don't look for the red room. Don't chase the rumors. Once they see you, they never stop watching. And if you get an invitation, don't accept it. Because once you're in, the only way out is through that chair. The rain tapped relentlessly against the window of Ethan's cramped apartment, a monotonous rhythm that blended with the hum of his aging laptop. It was past midnight, and the city outside was a blur of neon lights and shadows. Ethan, a 23-year-old computer science dropout, sat hunched over his desk, his face illuminated by the cold glow of the screen. His bloodshot eyes darted across lines of code, but his mind wasn't on his freelance gig. Ethan had always been curious, the kind of kid who took apart his dad's old radio just to see how it worked. That curiosity had evolved into a fascination with the hidden corners of the internet, the dark web. He'd heard the stories, sites that promised forbidden knowledge or worse. Most of it was exaggerated, he figured, urban legends for the digital age. But tonight, fueled by insomnia and a reckless streak, he decided to dive deeper than he ever had before. He'd already installed Tor, the browser that granted access to the dark web's encrypted layers. Over the past few weeks, he'd poked around, mostly sticking to marketplaces selling knockoff designer bags or sketchy crypto exchanges. Boring, really. But tonight, he stumbled across a forum thread buried in an obscure Onion site. The post was cryptic, titled simply "Red Stream Invitation Only." No replies, just a string of random characters that looked like a URL and a single sentence. "See the truth, if you dare." Ethan's cursor hovered over the link. His gut told him to close the tab, but his curiosity screamed louder. He copied the string, pasted it into Tor, and hit enter. The browser churned for longer than usual, the loading bar crawling. Finally, the screen went black, and a single line of red text appeared. "Enter your name to join." He hesitated. Giving his real name felt like a rookie mistake. He typed Anon and pressed enter. The screen flickered, and a grainy video feed loaded. It was a live stream, the kind you'd expect from a cheap webcam. The image was dim, showing what looked like an empty room with peeling wallpaper and a single wooden chair in the center. No sound, no movement. Ethan frowned. "This is it?" he muttered, leaning back in his chair. He was about to click away when a figure appeared in the frame, moving so quickly it seemed to materialize out of nowhere. It was tall, cloaked in a black robe, with a hood obscuring their face. Ethan's hands went clammy. The figure sat in the chair, facing the camera, still as a statue. Then, text appeared at the bottom of the screen in that same blood-red font. "Hello, Ethan." His heart skipped a beat. He hadn't typed his real name. He was sure of it. He glanced at his apartment door, half expecting to hear footsteps. The rain outside seemed louder now, like it was whispering secrets. He typed furiously, "How do you know my name?" The figure didn't move, but new text appeared. "We see you. We know you. Stay and watch, or we'll come to say goodbye." Ethan's stomach churned. This had to be a hack, some kind of IP trace or browser exploit. He slammed his laptop shut, his breathing shallow. He unplugged his router for good measure and sat in the dark, listening to the raindrop. His phone buzzed on the desk, making him flinch. It was a notification from an email app he rarely used. The subject line read, "You can't leave the red stream, Ethan." He didn't open it. Instead, he grabbed a beer from the fridge and tried to calm down, telling himself it was just some edgelord trolling him. But the unease gnawed at him. Against his better judgment, he powered up his laptop again, this time using a VPN and a virtual machine to sandbox his activity. He reopened Tor and navigated back to the Redstream link. The video feed was still there, but the room was different now. The chair was gone, replaced by a rusted metal table. On it lay a collection of objects: a knife, a hammer, and what looked like a syringe filled with a dark liquid. The cloaked figure was back, standing behind the table. This time, they held something in their hands, a photograph. They held it up to the camera, and Ethan's blood ran cold. It was a picture of him, taken from outside his apartment window. He recognized the hoodie he'd been wearing earlier that day. "You're watching," the text read. "Good, let's play a game." Ethan's fingers trembled as he typed, "What do you want?" The figure tilted their head, as if amused. The text changed, "Truth or pain? Choose." He didn't understand. This wasn't a game, it was a threat. He typed, "Leave me alone." But before he could hit enter, the screen glitched and a new video feed appeared. This one showed a different room, dimly lit with a person tied to a chair. Their face was obscured by a burlap sack, but their muffled cries were unmistakable. Ethan's heart pounded. Was this real? A snuff film? Or just some sick performance? "Truth or pain?" the text repeated. "Choose now, or we choose for them." Ethan's mind raced. He didn't know what truth meant, but pain was clear enough. He typed, "Truth." The cloaked figure nodded slowly. The screen shifted back to the empty room with the table. New text appeared. "Tell us your darkest secret. Type it now." Ethan froze. His darkest secret? He wasn't a saint, but he didn't have some buried skeleton worth this. Or did he? His mind flashed to a memory he tried to bury. A night 2 years ago, a drunken fight with his ex-girlfriend. Words he'd screamed that he could never take back. He'd never told anyone, not even his therapist. But now, with the figure staring through the screen, it felt like they already knew. He typed, hands shaking, "I told my ex I wished she was dead. I didn't mean it, but I said it." The figure didn't move. The text changed. "Good. Now watch." The feed switched back to the person in the chair. A second figure, also cloaked, entered the frame, holding the knife from the table. Ethan's stomach lurched as they raised the blade, but instead of striking, they cut the ropes binding the person. The burlap sack was removed, revealing a young woman, tears streaming down her face. She scrambled out of the frame and the feed cut to black. Ethan exhaled, his relief tinged with dread. Had he just saved someone? Or was this all a twisted show? Before he could process it, the original feed returned. The cloaked figure was closer to the camera now, their hooded face filling the screen. The text read, "You chose well. Want to play again?" He didn't. He wanted to smash his laptop and move to another country. But something kept him glued to the screen. Fear, curiosity, or maybe something darker. He typed, "What happens if I stop?" The figure leaned back, and the text appeared, "We visit you, in person." Ethan's apartment felt smaller, the walls closing in. He glanced at the window, half expecting to see a hooded figure staring back. The rain was a roar now, drowning out his thoughts. He typed, "I'll play." The game continued. Each round was the same, truth or pain. Each time, Ethan chose truth, spilling secrets he'd never voiced. Petty thefts as a teenager, lies he'd told his parents, a time he'd cheated on an exam. Each confession felt like peeling back a layer of his soul, leaving him raw and exposed. And each time, the feed showed another person. Men, women, young, old, tied up, only to be released after his confession. But the game was changing. The cloaked figure grew more animated, their movements jerky, almost inhuman. The objects on the table multiplied. Pliers, a drill, a vial of something labeled neurotoxin. The text became more personal, taunting. "You're enjoying this? Aren't you, Ethan?" The power, the fear. He wasn't. Or was he? The thought made him sick, but he couldn't deny the adrenaline coursing through him, the twisted thrill of each round. By the 10th game, he was exhausted, his secrets running dry. He typed, "I'm out of truths." The figure froze. The screen glitched, static tearing through the feed. When it cleared, the room was different, familiar. Ethan's breath caught as he recognized his own apartment. The camera panned to his desk, his chair, his laptop. But he was still sitting there, staring at the screen. How was this possible? The cloaked figure appeared in the frame, standing behind the version of Ethan on the screen. They leaned down, their hooded face inches from the other Ethan's ear. The text read, "No more truths? Then it's pain." Ethan screamed, spinning around in his real chair, expecting to see the figure behind him. But his apartment was empty, the door locked, the windows shut. The rain pounded harder, like laughter. He turned back to the screen, where the feed now showed the cloaked figure holding the knife, poised over the other Ethan's shoulder. "Last chance," the text read. "Truth, or we take something from you." Ethan's mind was a blank. He had nothing left to confess, no secret deep enough to satisfy them. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, panic clawing at his chest. Then he heard it, a creak, faint but unmistakable, from the hallway outside his apartment. He typed, "I'm sorry, I have nothing left." The screen went black. The creak grew louder, followed by a soft knock at his door. Ethan's heart stopped. He grabbed a kitchen knife, his hands shaking so badly he could barely hold it. The knock came again, slow and deliberate. He didn't move. He couldn't. The rain was silent now, the world holding its breath. His laptop pinged, a new notification. Against every instinct, he glanced at the screen. The red stream was back, showing his apartment door from the outside. The cloaked figure stood there, knife in hand, staring directly at the camera. The text read, "We're here." The knock came again, louder this time. Ethan backed away, the knife slipping from his grasp. The door handle rattled, and the lock clicked open. The last thing he saw was the screen, where the text had changed one final time. "You should have came to play." Thank you for listening. Hope I didn't scare you too much. Let me know which one did you like the most and why. Sweet dreams.